Hey everybody, welcome back. We're doing another Marvel Future Revolution video. We're going to be talking about Netmarble's Q3 2021 financial report. I am not a financial advisor. I am not a financial expert. I'm just a YouTube guy doing YouTube things. So having said that, we're going to look at what they did. Did they do well? Did they do bad? We'll start with the Reddit post that originally posted this. This is public information. You can go out there and get it. I'd like to hear from you, whether you're an expert in this type of stuff or not, whether you think it's a good sign or a bad sign. I've seen both sides. I always try to play devil's advocate for different viewpoints, and I'll share those feelings. So I will say that I do think that the game is healthy. I'll put that out there right now. So if you want to stop watching the video, just like, subscribe, hammer down like buttons, comment below, come to the Discord link, description below. I'd like to kind of do a deeper dive into it and see what I think, and also get some of your guys' comments and thoughts on it as well. So yeah, let's get into it.
Bring me WolverThor!
All right, so I think the best and easiest thing to do to start is likely just to look at the Reddit post that had this up. So it talked about the Q3 earnings reports. That this was out yesterday. This was something that some of us were definitely expecting. I like seeing this because it is a publicly traded company. So the gist of this post is essentially that Marvel Future Revolution accounted for 4% of the revenue for Netmarble. Is that good? Is that bad? I will say a little spoiler here. It's about midway of their major games from what I could see. So I was like, okay, it's not bad. It's not good. It's a launch game. Now, having said that, one of their top games, Contest of Champions, that's been out forever. So it's like, what I'd like to really see is how a game like this compares with other games starts, whether they be 7 or whatever years ago. So if anybody's got any of that information, please do bring it. But for now, this is fine. It amounted to about $23.2 million. Now, and they say plus or minus $3 million here. So it could be 20 million, it could be 26 million, basically because the entire report is in Korean currency. So let's just call it 20 million to be safe. So, you know, what is the development cost on something like this? Don't personally know. I can't imagine it's much more than 5 to 15 million, but I don't know. It doesn't seem like a game that's done a ton of advertising. It's done some. They clearly spent a bunch of money on orchestras for the great music. That's awesome. Their voice actors, top of the line. So they definitely have some good money going in there. And those signs alone, forget the money reports for a second. Seeing Netmarble, Marvel put that sort of emphasis into a game with the symphonies, with those type of voice actors, tells me that they're pretty invested in the game, at least in my mind. So depending what that development cost is, there's a chance they already made their money back for it. So now it's just, it would be anything past that would be the company to keep it, or the group of people to keep it running, and then everything else besides that is profit. So they're overhead, and then they take in their profit. I think that in their first month they're already in the profit margin, but I don't know. So they talk here again. I mentioned Contest of Champions. It's about 11%, which is about $70 million US in that same period. So you can see that there's a huge Contest of Champions is like their monster money maker for this stuff. There's another game in here we'll talk about when we go to the spreadsheet or to the report, but Future Fight was less than 4%. Again, that's been out for what, 7 or 8 years. I'm not sure if it says in it, but for the past 4 quarters, Future Fight has been right around that 3 to 4% of the revenue. Future Fight is the one that I'd really like to see as how it was at the start, to see if it was huge, minor, you know, and like I played Future Fight for a minute or two, so I don't really know how well it compares, but a lot of people do compare them quite a bit. They do mention that the comp is much closer to MFR for Future Fight than Contest of Champions. From 2017 to 22, Future Fight's quarters were 32, 39, 34, 22, and if it is around 3%, it'd be 21. So you know, MFR is better than Future Fight currently, but again, I don't think that's a good comparison because Future Fight's been out for a while, and I guess that's more on the decline, whereas we want Future Revolution to be, you know, doing better and on the incline. They mentioned the 7-year, and then they talk about sensor tower data. I am not a big fan of sensor tower because it's a lot of interpolation. You know, there's some posts in here that sort of kind of guess at what's going on with everything. And they talk about some sensor tower in here somewhere. They talk about Genshin Impact. One of the things I did like about what they mentioned with Genshin Impact in here is how Genshin Impact was in PC, console, and mobile. I do think now, I know that Netmarble and Marvel have not said or wanted to do PC and this mobile. This game feels very PC to me. I have played it on my phone. I personally think that a PC would be better, but I do like the ability to play it on mobile if I'm going somewhere. So I would love for Netmarble to really kind of lean into that. And I have not played Genshin, but apparently, it's done well. So anyway, so there's some other stuff that's in here. This Ni no Kuni is what we're going to talk about a little bit, which is done actually really well in this. It does have 1 extra month in this quarterly results. So instead of 3 months, it's 4, but still, that game seems to be doing huge. We'll just scroll through this. Again, not a financial advisor. You guys can read the disclaimer if you want to pause it here. I'm not going to go through that. They've got a nice table of contents that talks about this. I am not going to convert Korean currency to US dollars to the euro or anything like that. If you want to do that, feel free to pause this at any point and do the conversion. Google calculators have simple stuff that you can run it into your currency wherever you might be and figure that out. So revenue, I'm like, okay, so the company seems to be holding steady around the 600 mark, which is fine, great. Up a little bit, no big deal. Operating profit looks like it was kind of on a little decline. It came up a little bit. It's still on the net profit here. So it's like, all right, so it's down. So I'm sure, Netmarble and their shareholders, when they're looking at this, they're going to go, we need this to come the other way. But, 6% net profit still, in my mind, not too bad. When I'm thinking about things, again, I come from a different industry where a lot of times you're lucky to get 2 to 3% profit, but we're not going to dive into that. This graphic was very interesting to me because it was by region. It showed their revenue breakdown. It's really North America and Korea here. I have to admit, I expected Korea to be higher than North America. A lot of times that is a gigantic financial market for a lot of these mobile games and gaming in general. But between those two, they tend to be your larger contributors to stuff like this. So, but North America and Korea about the same there. So that's, fine, I guess, just sort of to know. And then revenue breakdown by game. So this is where we start to get into stuff a little bit where we care about for MFR. So the portfolio diversifies, has MMO RPG is 40% of their revenue. Okay, RPG 27, casual games 22. Others 11. So I was kind of like, all right then. Now you look at this, MMO RPG is this bottom section, RPG is the middle section. So we know Marvel Future Revolution is an MMO RPG. So it's clearly that genre is the one that is doing very well for them and has been a big chunk of theirs. It's been about even with the RPG function. RPG was a little bit better. They started equaling out a little bit over the last year or so, I'd say. So, and then this particular quarter, it was a lot more. Now the question is, what else is it besides Marvel Future Revolution? And this is the one. This to me is really the slide that's sort of like, okay, let's look at this one. Now, unfortunately, others, we don't know the breakdown for others. My understanding for this is a plethora of other small games that bring in a lot of money. So that's clearly their best, moneymaker. Whereas, we might not know those as bigger name games. Combined, all of those things are doing very well for them. So the top game, and I talked about this earlier, is Ni no Kuni. Now, I know nothing about this game. It's not even globally launched, but it's clearly a huge game for them. They did add 1 extra month in this. You said in the third quarter 21, the revenue of Ni no Kuni was fully recognized. It was released in June. So if you go by quarters, that gives you an extra month of revenue in this. So they didn't put this in their quarter 2 of 2021. They put it in their quarter 3. So it might have bumped it up a little bit, you know, I don't know, maybe 7% was in that first month, and it gets similar to Contest of Champions, whatever. We'll see in Q4 how it shakes out, but it's not even globally released. So that's just duly noted. You can see the countries here. Now, again, Marvel Contest of Champions, their #1 main game there besides the Ni no Kuni one. 7 Deadly Sins. I have not played this. I've heard about it. Lineage 2 Revolution. I think that's been out for a minute. And then you've got Marvel Future Revolution. Underneath Marvel Future Revolution, or tied with them, is Cookie Jam, Harry Potter, Blade, and Soul Revolution. So Marvel Revolution is definitely in the bottom half of it. So if there's 8 of them there, it's in the bottom half. And it's tied with that. You don't know how much is what, but it is a part of the MMORPG group that clearly is doing well. So it's a Marvel game. You know, it's in a genre that seems to be a popular genre. So I'd think and like to hope, you know, that this will do better in the future. We'll see. I mean, I don't know. As I look at this, you can see top revenue generators they list over here, but again, that's just what you're seeing in the graph. Percentage wise, that's where I think this, when you see the 4%, that's where they get the 23 million. Okay. So, and then they, outside of this, they got major cost structures. You know, they list some of their new lineups. Marvel Future Revolution isn't listed on here. This is other games. And then it's got an appendix here that talks about more of the revenue, the commission, cost, labor, assets. This is stuff that I'm not necessarily, if you see anything here and you want to pause the video and say, wait a minute, you missed this thing, please comment below. But I don't think this is stuff that I necessarily want to go through. And that's the end of this specific report. So for me, I'm really looking at this now. I will say my first inclination for this, when I heard it made $23 million in the first 3 months, if it is between 20 and 26, let's call it, I was like, oh, that's great. And then if you go back to this Reddit post, I remember somewhere in here, someone says, this is a straight flop. And I immediately think about movies that are like, you know, it cost 20 million to make a movie. They expected it to make 100 million and it made 60, you know? So I was like, well, is that a flop? Like, it didn't do as well as you thought it would do, but it still made money. So, you know, anyway, I'll leave that up to you to decide. I personally like the game. I still think, you know, again, when I heard that dollar amount, I was like, oh, okay, good. You know, good, healthy game going here. I still see the development team doing things that I'm liked. The companion aspect of things, I think, is going to actually help their revenue, believe it or not. So I think that is something that they will continually introduce as a hero collector sort of thing and make it so that people might be inclined to spend more money. I think that's where you might see some of your power creep in game quicker than in, you know, like the gear. Like if you introduce magic and all of a sudden she beats everybody else, that's going to sort of feel bad. I mean, I hope they balance all the characters, you know, throughout time to make, you know, maybe, you know, they just, if Iron Man, you know, is buff, they don't nerf him. But they kind of bring everyone up to his level. You know, if he's got a certain number of iframes, it's like, all right, let's get everybody else the same amount of iframes here. You know, that sort of thing is the thing that I hope they do to balance this game. You just kind of bring up everything together as opposed to nerfing something that makes everybody else feel bad, or the people who invested feel bad. And then if you bring a new character that is so dominant, you're still going to make people feel bad. So point being is that the companion system, I think, is going to help their revenue more so than, so we'll see how that goes, because I think that, you know, especially as we figure out how they work and which ones are better, and as they introduce more, I think it's going to make more and more money. It's the collector aspect, and that's the part of it that does, you know, good money making. So again, that's where I land on this thing. I'd love to hear where you guys are at. I think the game's healthy at the moment. It's still very early. A lot of MMOs struggle at start. Again, I'm biased, I guess, because I love Marvel, but I very much enjoyed this game. I found an alliance that we talk on Discord every night. It's fun. We enjoy the game. You know, would I love more people, more activity in the game? Yes. Are some servers struggling? Yes. Netmarble absolutely needs to work through that. I liked how they did start doing the cross-server play. I'm finding, you know, queuing much simpler. I'm getting my butt kicked in Dimensional Duel way more than I was before. I'm like, what the heck? You know, I'm playing new players. I'm playing, you know, I'm not just playing the same, you know, 5 to 15 people where we get to know each other. So I like it. That's where I'm at. You know, I'll leave it at that for now. I've talked long enough. I really just wanted to convey this information and share some of it. I want to hear back from you guys. Anybody who's sort of an expert in this realm, hit me up. Let me know what you think, where it's at, what the dev costs are, etc. Like I mentioned at the beginning, if you're new to the channel, check out the Discord link in the description below. It's the easiest way to follow along with content, community, etc. Hammer down on like buttons, click notification bells, subscribe, all that sort of thing. And until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day.